Ambition doesn't need permission. It just needs a seat at the table, and we brought our own. Welcome to the So Ambitious podcast. Tommy, you said something about I didn't necessarily listen to the calling in the beginning. Can you talk through hearing something but either not being ready or pulling and kind of pushing away from what is kind of calling you?
Sure. It's an inner conflict. And oftentimes it's your ego, what you want for yourself versus what you've actually signed up for to do before you came here. So once I came into the awareness the first time, honestly, it was so overwhelming that I thought, me? That's what I'm supposed to do? I don't think, I'm here to focus on X, Y, and Z. Plus I was just getting out of college. So for me, it was just about making money, getting established, and just, getting a solid platform. So I was prioritizing that and was head down, focused on that. So for me to deviate from that just felt like not a good move. So that was why I resisted the call at that time.
I'm a fellow of an organization called Echoing Green, and they have this kind of thing where they talk about your moment of obligation. And it's different from, it's the same as a calling, but it's a little bit different of the push and pull. And what they say around that is you see a problem much bigger than yourself. And you ask, if not me, then whom? And if you can't have an answer, then the whom part, it's your obligation to solve the problem or reconcile with yourself that you have no problem seeing that problem fester. And that becomes your moment of obligation. And I feel like both of you have had that and both answered that call in different ways, right? Which has led to the work that you all both do currently. Talk to me a little bit more about the companies and initiatives that you've currently built. I'll start with you, Lanny, then I'll go to
Actively Black is, on the surface, a premium athleisure wear brand built with the purpose to uplift and reinvest back into the Black community. But we're not really building an apparel brand. I say the clothes are just a uniform for the movement. It's what we're utilizing to build the tribe and the community that we can then activate in different ways. It's a labor of love. It's something that's very purpose driven. There were a lot of people who told me when I started this that it would not work, that if I included Black in the name, it would prevent it from being successful. And so, ironically, my co-founder Bianca, she'll attest to this. So Ambitious by Jay-Z and Pharrell is something that I've had on repeat. When he says the motivation for me is them telling me what I could not be. Oh well, you know what I mean? I hear y'all, but I'm gonna prove y'all wrong, and I'm gonna prove this vision that's been given to me right. And so,
For myself, we are a mission-driven tech company, purely that certifies the commercial use of Black culture for ethical trade. It's no secret that culture makes profits, but we aren't participating in those rewards. So we're using blockchain to authenticate businesses and products that are made or marketed leveraging Black creativity, likeness, or influence to provide a level of trust, a real trust mark. Think kosher mark, but for Black culture. And that was really my core inspiration when I was looking for models back on July 6, 2016. And I stumbled into the Orthodox Union, which is a kosher model. And I brought this to kind of give you an idea of how prevalent and in plain sight it is. See that little O with the U at the bottom right corner? And that's on a pack of sugar. It stands for Orthodox Union. It's a kosher mark for food-based products. It lives on 91% of the food in all of our kitchens today. And they basically approach food-based companies and say, hey, we got a group of people that want to make sure they can trust your products. They're only 4% of the population, but they're organized. So once the rabbis and scientists come in and test out their manufacturing protocol, once it meets kosher standards, allow them to put this symbol. The beauty about it, though, is outside of it being a signal, not just for the Jewish community, but for everybody, that things have gone through a standard. They charge brands a licensing fee. And that licensing fee on 2 million products brings in $12 billion every year. And what I'm inspired by is how that $12 billion is repurposed. Part of it is used to fund synagogues. Next part funds education. Next part funds birthright trips for every child when they're 11. and the fourth piece funds political lobbying.
Yeah.
So when I saw that model of how you can retain a group of people's impact on economy and then repurpose it back to that group in ways that can protect, preserve, and perpetuate that group's existence, I thought, this is exactly what original people need.
I walked away from my big job. I was at the height of my career. People thought I was crazy. They were like, "You're doing what?" I'm like, "I am finally going to launch this brand that has been in my head and my heart for all these years. And there's never going to be a perfect moment. It's actually usually the most uncomfortable points in your life that typically push you to the thing. And so I just took the bet. I was like, I'm going to do it. I have the skill. I have the faith. I finally have the courage. I have the ambition. And so it's time to go. And so a lot of it was doing research. It started with the data, with the research. What's the real opportunity here? Yes, I love wine. Yes, I understand this is a big industry, but what is the real opportunity? Who's the consumer? What does it look like? And then how do I find a partner that is going to allow me to do exactly what I want to do? Because it was really important for me to have proprietary wines. I didn't want to white label products that already existed. And so I would say a lot of research, a lot of reaching out to my network, and also literally discovering a new network in South Africa and saying, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. A lot of trial and error. There were a lot of moments that I was like, this isn't right. We got to start all over again. A lot of, here's the deadline. The deadline comes and goes, but being really flexible and being very vulnerable and being willing to ask for help. That's what the early days really looked like. And just having a lot of faith that I could pull this thing off, because it's not an easy thing to do, to actually take something from your head and your heart and then actually see it to fruition.
You said a lot of data and kind of research, but it sounds like a lot of questions as well, right? Can you talk to us a little bit about like some of those conversations? Because I imagine for everyone that said, yes, do this, there were other people that asked you questions that made you even question, should you do this to begin with? How did you navigate like the naysayers? And sometimes like the naysayers aren't even like blaring, like absolutely no. It's just like a little like, you sure, sis?
Yeah.
But anything that you can kind of share on any of those conversations? Because I know along my entrepreneurial journey, I've had a lot of those conversations for people that I love, people that I trust. It's just like, you sure you should leave that good job, right? Or you sure this is the thing that you should be doing, or how you should be spending your money or your time. But talk to us a little bit more about that.
Ooh, child, the naysayers. And it's the ones that aren't necessarily having the conversation with you, but you feel the energy. And, remember, I was at the height of my game, working for big organizations. I was a check writer. So I was the person supporting a lot of people's ideas and moments. And when you're no longer that, it does shift. There is an energy shift. I also had people, they thought I was absolutely crazy that I wouldn't launch a brand from California, where I'm from, much easier, right, than taking a 20-hour flight to South Africa. And so I had a lot of people saying, what are you doing? Are you crazy? I had a lot of people in the industry saying, no one's checking for wine from South Africa. And it was shocking to me. There were people that I thought were really progressive and creative, but were very negative, right, about my ambition. And what it did for me was it made me realize that I needed to get real focused, get real quiet, and it was lonely. A lot of people ask me, how did you do this in 3 years? How did you build and launch a brand in 3 years? And I always say 20 years of experience, and then 3 years of a lot of time by myself. Because I think oftentimes, those voices and some of the commentary can slow you down. It can create a doubt that maybe didn't exist, And so, yes, there was a lot of that, but it was healthy, right? Because I was able to understand where to put those things and not let them be a barrier to my journey and obviously my destiny.
It's one of my favorite stories on Spill is that a couple that met on Spill when it first launched got married 6 months later, got pregnant right around that same time, and just had their first Spill baby.
Okay.
literally documented the whole thing on Spill. And I'm just like, it was a moment because I didn't think we were building for that. I didn't think at the beginning we were like solving for connection, but like these people's lives are really, really different because we helped facilitate something and hopefully created an environment where that connection could flourish.
But why do you feel like you weren't building for all the ancillary things to happen as a result of like your initial idea?
You know, you get hyper focused, right? On like, this has to be, I was super focused in the early days on like, we have to be the fastest to break, you know, news in the culture, right? Like you're going to find out about the Drake and Kendrick battles before anyone else on Spill, you can get it in your phone. I was very, very focused on like speed, and our first like publishing format was memes. So you would put text on an image on a GIF. Like I wanted it to be very visual and dynamic, and, you know, like our group chats, right? Like, you know, we all got a couple group chats with, you know, friends, and they
some
crazy.
Good and some ratchet. And
yeah,
some
well, the more ratchet, the better, right? And so I don't think I was really thinking about new relationships forming and really understood the depth of that need, especially for the younger folks, right? Like, you know, if you are 20 now, you were 15 in the pandemic. So you didn't really have a high school experience that was normal. You are coming out in a wildly polarized environment. If you are anywhere on any type of social media, it is a minefield. And at the same time, it's probably still really scary to go up to someone in person and be like, hi, I think you're cute, or hi, I want to be friends, right? So people are using these tools to do so. And that wasn't my core use case in my brain at the time, but it's clearly the thing that is needed. And unfortunately, I think it's gonna be more and more needed with AI and, you know, the way that tends to isolate folks rather than facilitate connections right now.
You rattled off a really impressive list of like kind of partners. How did that come about?
Yeah, so it helped to have worked in, you know, marketing and, you know, the entertainment realm for a bit. But honestly, the response to our vision pretty much from day one. So the story of getting into Spill kind of facilitated that partnership wave as we sort of opened up the platform. So I was fired in 2022 by Elon, laid off, whatever the term is, when he bought the company, he laid off half the company. By December, we announced Spill, and there were 50,000 people in a week that signed up to join the platform. We didn't have a platform yet. We didn't have a design, you know, literally it was just a logo. And then 6 months later, the month after that, we closed our first funding round of $2.5 million. And then 4 months after that, we launched the first invite-only beta of Spill. So in the period of 6 months, I went from fired to funded to Spill, 3 weeks after we launched, went #1 in the Apple App Store. And I believe we were the first Black-owned social platform to do that. Brands were watching. We actually started getting hit up by brands in, you know, as soon as I closed my funding round, and we had our first advertiser the day we launched that beta. And I think this, you know, these types of brands that understand culture and community, especially, shout out to all the smart marketers out there. Smart marketers, you know who you are. Get down with the early stage culture-driven platforms now. They were like, we got to be early, right? And so I know what they're looking for, know how to speak that language, especially when, you know, I like to use the metaphor with them when I'm sitting down. You know, when you go into a jewelry store, you don't pay less for the rare diamond. You pay more. Right. So we are a rare diamond. You know, we're growing, we're new, but this is rare. You're not going to find anything quite like this. And I think that message really resonated, and it's going to continue to resonate because, you know, it's AI slop everywhere. And, you know, the creator economy is kind of a wild, wacky world. It's very unpredictable. And I think we were just honest and said, hey, we know you have, you know, if you're movies and TV, you have stories that you want to get out and want to connect with people. If you're another product company, you want to have authentic, real human beings being like, I either like this or I don't. And if I would, you know, if this were my company, I would do this, this, this. And that's really valuable feedback for them. So that's how we've really built some strong relationships.
The limit is not just in what is real. The limit is now extends to what's unreal.
Right.
And, you know, that means that there are new just formats of entertainment that haven't even been conceived of. Like there's this tool, you know, the tool that makes a music video and a song at the same time. Like, what is that? How are you making a song and a music video in one? Like, that's just the next mixtape might be a video. Like, people, we don't know. The formats are changing. So I say all that to say, we're trying to build a representation label or whatever the future, we don't like to say record label, but we're trying to figure out what these new tools mean in terms of IP building. So in the concept about having something that's real, like a human artist, there are people that are unreal, that are making music and entertaining people in a way that isn't traditional. Like, it's not a band in front of a camera. It's, you know, there's shout out Space God. Like, Space God did a collab with us with one of our virtual artists, Tata, who you know, everybody tends to know her name. It took a lot of, it was a big media moment. But, you know, Space God is a digital alien from Atlanta. He's a YN alien, R.I.P. Zarlak. You know, he's got his whole lore. Yo, it's hilarious. He's hilarious. He's hilarious, but he's not, you know, he's not based in this world, literally. Like, he's out of this world. And he's using his persona and who he is, and using he's taking his persona and using things like AI to make generative versions of himself, which is just hilarious. But he's so committed to the point where he dress up in a gray alien mask and spray paint his arms gray and show up as Space God. And, you know, he wants to make music, and he wants to, you know, he's dropping music and he's doing interviews and he's doing shows and he's getting booked off of this digital character. Wow. And we're looking at this phenomenon of not just a Space God, but there's Ja Monkey, which is a Rasta monkey. You've seen him, you know what I'm saying? Like, we got tracks for him. You know what I mean? Like, they got, like, they're just moments you're like, okay, this is going to be a new form of funny. And how do we represent these people? A lot of these people are just organically creating, and they haven't thought about monetizing. They haven't thought about, you know, if they even want to get in front the curtain and present themselves to brands, or, you know, what's the pathway to merch, or, you know, ticket sales or anything like that. A lot of people haven't thought that far. Right now, it's emerging on the internet, where it's just like, okay, so what is that? So when we create an unreal artist like a Tata and say, hey, like, you know, it's jarring, because people are like, what? That's not real? How they gonna tour? I ain't never seen a USB stick tour. And it's like, okay, well, you ever heard of Hatsune Miku? No? Right. You ever heard of like, you know, insert, you know, virtual pop idol, you know, a China idol or a J-pop, K-pop.
Right.
Artists, like digital artists have been a thing. The Gorillas, you know what I mean? Like, let's not talk about that. And you know what's crazy? Did you see that? One of their hit songs was a template from a keyboard. They didn't even make it.
Wow.
Like, people give like AI artists like, oh, you didn't make that. They literally pressed play on a preset and that was their biggest hit.
Damn.
And that was like back then. And so it's like, I think people are just, ultimately, if you over-explain the entertainment, it's a bad joke. And so, like, I think working backwards, it's saying, hey, this is entertaining. So how do we build stuff around that? And like, what do these new tools help us do? That's a big part of what we're doing on just the AI IP side with this company, Stage Zero, that Tim, myself, and this gentleman, Rocky, have created. But it's really to just wrap our heads around, but then also wrap, you know, original ways to complete the circle. Like, there's new ways that people that don't know how to connect their music with, you know, their entertainment vertical, or just original, you know, AI tools that you can use, or workflows that you can use to get your thing off. So I know it's long-winded, but you know, we're really in the field. It's really happening out there, and the next thing might not be a real artist. Like, there was, you know, there's and it's not the only thing. I don't want to be like, that's the only way. You guys give up your act, go home and just quit. It's not that. It's just in addition to. It's like, hey, you know, like I said, we're competing with cat videos. There's the AI video going viral of these bunnies jumping on a trampoline. And I'm sitting there looking like, man, that's a great way to sell trampolines. Like, man, somebody should, you know, figure out how to be like Lincoln Bio for the trampoline. And, you know,
everyone has a license to reimagine right now.
Amen.
Every single person. Will, what's your tech stack?
ChatGPT. I would go I think you need a large language model. Whatever it needs to be, that should just be part of, like, your everyday, same way you use Gmail, same way you use your phone, you should have a large language model. I prefer ChatGPT. Claude is amazing as well. But then using like UDO for music, using VO3 for videos. Kling is also really dope. Midjourney is the GOAT when it comes to making AI images. Notebook LM is becoming one of my favorite tools. Notebook LM allows you to like upload any document and it creates a audio podcast. Google's really just killing it right now. They just dropped Opal, but NAN for AI agents. And what else am I using? I feel like that's pretty much it. Like, at least as far as what I do. Yeah, ChatGPT, UDO, Midjourney, NAN, and Claude. Those are probably, and VO3.
Yeah.
Nobody really gets it until they see it. And that's one of the great things of being in the role that I'm in. And when I bring people down to Essence Festival Culture, that have never been, family members, friends, associates, people I work with. And once they get on the ground, like basically you said it, when you stand in the Superdome and you look around, it's like, oh my God, I get it now. Essence Festival of Culture is a festival in name, but it is a juggernaut when it comes to experiential activation and logistics, because it is a 50,000 plus person a day conference. It is a film festival. It is a small business marketplace with over 250 vendors, and is a nighttime concert series in a stadium that holds 45,000 people. Any one of those by itself is complex logistical experiential activation. We do all of that in one weekend. And so when you think about, and this is the things that, people, you can't see it and don't understand it. So I love breaking it down for people like that. If you put that together, just the planning, just go and plan a small business marketplace right now for 250 vendors, where you have to make sure they all got their booths and their electrical and they have their marketing material, their loading, like all of that, just that one small piece. And so, yes, it is a vast combination of pretty intricate experiential, operational, logistical activations and programs. And then you add on top of that sponsors. You got to activate the sponsor. It's a lot. And we do start in advance. So it's not like a 2-week, 3-month, 6-month process. I mean, we're talking 2027 already now. And you throw in there the challenges and the challenges in a positive way when you're talking about throwing in talent. We had over 40 acts on the stage. We had, I think, nearly 300 talent and personalities in the convention center over the breadth of the week. So all of those pieces, and yes, I'm the chief events officer, but it really takes the full organization to pull it off, because we have different departments within, and we all just pull together to pull this off, in addition to 10 to 12 other events throughout the year under the Sundown Media Group umbrella. So
How do you guys move forward, like protecting like the vision that you've created and the legacy, knowing the economic times that we're in? Because I imagine like that within itself, not even all the moving parts of just running an iconic event for decades. But like, how do you protect like that vision moving forward? Because I think, and not to hark on what I saw on social media, but it was a lot of like, who is this for and who is this not for anymore, right? But I think as you build a brand and build an experience, you also have to protect the thing moving forward. But like, what does that look like for you all?
We have a lot of mantras within the organization, but one that comes to mind with this question is pride, courage, and conviction. And that, when we get to a crossroads of a decision that needs to make, we start pulling out, like, how does this affect our pride, courage, and conviction when it comes to Essence, when it comes to the future of Essence, when it comes to the community, when it comes to who we serve. When you ask, like, who is it for? I like to say it's for everybody.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. We really want to build an inclusive space for everyone, with the everyone focus being Black women, and knowing that Black women is not a monolith. Like there's and we have the aunties, whether you want to identify as an auntie or not. We have the aunties, but we got the nieces. You know, we got the nieces and the aunties coming together. And now the unks, because I'm officially unk status apparently. So unks, we are invited. We have stuff for the men and the nephews. So it's really what we're trying to do is make it an inclusive space for all of us, to be fully transparent. And so, you know, with that, we do have to we have to have the courage to step out of what is traditional when it comes to Essence Fest, you know, to have the courage to have Meg Thee Stallion on stage, knowing that we're going to get blowback from people that are like rooted in where we were, but understand that we also are trying to grow to make sure that there's going to be something here. And again, Essence has the right to be whatever Essence wants to be, just like Black women have the right to be whatever they want to be. So we want to serve all, not just one part of the community.
What would you say, and to help me understand, just from your marketing brain, right? Who is the kind of the core, like target market, kind of like avatar profile of like the fest? I mean, you guys do a number of events, right? But like the festival, because I think one of the biggest lessons in marketing is like you have to draw a line of who this is for and who this is not for. And stand in the conviction of it, right? Like what you said. But I think that's always helpful for people to kind of ground it. Like, is it a festival for, 18 to 24? Like, is it more like, because there's ancillary, target markets as a result of that. But I'm thinking as our entrepreneurs are trying to define, you're not building a business for everyone. Because if you build a business for everyone, you've built a business for no one. For no one, right. You got to know who you're speaking to, who you're marketing to, who you put your dollars behind from a targeted standpoint. But I would love to know, just from your perspective, doing this work for so many years, like how do you define that as an entrepreneur? And then how do you stick to that and kind of block out the noise when you know this is the market or this is the target that will fully understand what you're building and become your super fans?
So you asked the question that I asked when I first started Essence. I come from the marketing agency world where, yes, we identify the target. This is, 25 to 40, African-American woman. This is her interest. And I could never get a direct answer. I quite literally, because I'm built that way coming from agency. And ultimately what I received was, we know who our core is, where our legacy lives. But again, we're trying to make something that is available for everybody. So, I mean, at our core, definitely I would say 30 to 45-year-old Black woman, African-American woman would be like the core Essence Fest consumer. It can move around, up or down, depending on how long they've been involved with the brand. Probably goes all the way up to 50s, mid-50s, early 60s. We have a unique property, and it actually reminds me of walking around here in Martha's Vineyard, where it's very family reunion feeling. So you get the multi-generational members of the family as well, but it is driven by that core. So, and that core is aging, again, this is our 31st year of Essence Fest. So if you came to your first Essence Fest when you were 25, you're now 55 and you're still coming back, or 56. So that's where it starts. But it definitely, we're growing that, and we're purposely bringing experiences that will help to grow that. And so you've got Essence, but you also have Girls United, which is our younger Essence audience, and they have their own space. Have the kickback. A couple of years ago, it was a little controversy because it was the anti-auntie zone. But the aunties went with the nieces. And then the nieces then came over to the concert and, enjoyed Janet Jackson with the aunties. So that's what we experienced. But to, your question, yes, you do have to have a core. I think for us, we're unique because it's something that's been going on for 30 years. So we know where it started and where it's kind of gravitated and moved towards. And you do have to you can't forget where your core was, even when you're growing. So that's where, again, we'll try things. And I think that's the other thing, you got to try. We'll try, we test and learn really quickly. We operate like a tech startup in some cases. It's fail fast, try it, see if it works, see how the audience, because we've got a very vocal community. So we'll know immediately if we strike gold or if we need to retool. And the great thing about working within the Sundial group of businesses and our visionary leaders is that we have that freedom to test and learn. That's another fail fast. So we're going to do it. Let's do it and see what happens. Because what we do know is that we can't break this thing. So let's see what we can do to build it and make it better.
Black Ambition, we invest in entrepreneurs, right? And so we've invested in 131 amazing entrepreneurs. And by the time this airs, we'll have invested in 150 entrepreneurs.
Amazing.
But in the early days of us building Black Ambition, and we had some consultants on, it was just like, we just need to focus it on the 5 areas in which we invest and build a mentorship program. And from my personal experience of being an entrepreneur, raising money, losing money, like all the things, the ebb and flows of all of that, I know therapy was a big part of the process of me just healing myself to then make better decisions in my business. And so one of the things that we added was essentially like a holistic kind of fortitude approach to Black Ambition, because I'm like, before we throw them out into investor conversations, we have to help them understand how to navigate proximity to wealth and power. The power dynamic that's associated with that is related to what I felt like unraveling and unpacking a toxic relationship to money. That's what I grew up in, right? My mom's PhD, my dad is an entrepreneur, but we didn't have conversations around money. And even when I got my first investor, the very first question when they came to us with like almost a 7-figure investment, my dad has been an entrepreneur for most of my life, is like, that sounds like a scam. And when he said that, this person I respected in the business space, it made me start questioning ultimately an injection of capital into the business that was transformational. Then it turned into like a bad investor experience for us. But I had to reconcile the toxic relationship that Black communities have with money, because oftentimes when they come into our communities, it's predatory financially. I say all of that because how do entrepreneurs kind of heal their toxic relationship with money? Because I think so much of what you're saying about getting smart with finances, asking questions, building a sense of community, and then setting yourself along in the plan, there is a process of like healing first our relationship to money before you can do anything else. Or is that not the case? There's a different way to think about it.
No, I agree. Well, I don't know you have to heal it first. It's almost like you don't have to be perfect before you get married. But you have to be open and willing to grow and change alongside this person. So it's the same thing. Like, entrepreneurship, it is going to be very difficult for you to be successful in entrepreneurship if you are poor at managing your money. Because money is the lifeblood of your business. And also too, if nothing else, you're going to be distracted. If you're like, my bills are late, my credit, this, it's very difficult to give the creative energy that a good business needs if you are stressed over here. And so one of the things that you should work on is what my therapist, Dr. Green, calls corrective experiences. And so that means that your father's experience with that was true. This happens, it's negative. Somebody gives me money, it's almost always a scam. So he didn't come up with that. Babies are not born thinking like people are scammers. So something happened to create that reality. And so the question is that true? Yes. Is it the only truth available? That's the second question. It's not. Good. Because yes, there are some people who will scam, like the person, my friend who scammed me when I was in my 20s. But do all people do that? No. So, because what happens is sometimes we make one truth a universal truth, and it's not. It's not the only truth available. But the only way to offset that, you have to think about your life as like a grade point average. It's an average of your experiences. And so, unfortunately, the Black community over-indexes on negative experiences with money. So now I have to seek out other experiences to correct that. I'm not just going to magically feel that way. So it's like this person who I thought was a business person stole from me. But now I had to create a community of other business friends who didn't do that. So I got one F in this business relationship, my first one. So that was an experience that created reality for me. Yeah. But then I had to collect other people along the way who were in business who did not do that. So one F. Then the next person did not. That was an A. Yeah. The next person did not. That was an A. And before you know it, you have enough A's to raise your GPA in business relationships from an F to a B and then an A. Yeah. So corrective experiences, but sometimes you have to seek them out. Like I think nothing to me, I mean, I've not given birth to children. I have my bonus daughter, but I don't know outside of parenthood that anything changes you fundamentally as a person like entrepreneurship. You cannot be the same. No. And you could be worse. But it will rock and sock you. I have become more decisive, more confident, more knowledgeable. I've become a better leader, a better woman, a better wife, a better sister, if you allow it, it will pull you to your highest sense of self because it is necessary for you to survive this thing. And so I am always seeking corrective experiences, because we all have stories we tell ourselves. And I'm always asking myself, well, is that true? Is that the only truth available? And if it's not the only truth, but it is currently true for me, how many corrective experiences do I have to collect to offset that story that does not serve me anymore?
A lot of entrepreneurs that we interface with or that have are raising capital, right? Venture capital is the big shiny object.
Not for me.
A lot of moving parts, a lot of nuances, right? That's not the pathway that you have taken. Yeah. Talk to me a little bit more about that.
Well, one, I started my business 16 years ago, and I was a preschool teacher. So no one was going to give preschool teacher. The kids used to call me Miss Tiffany. No one was giving Miss Tiffany and her teddy bear scrubs money. Yeah. Because we used to have to wear scrubs so that way you didn't mess up your clothes when you played with the kids, right? And so I didn't even know what I was doing. Yeah. Honestly, I just said, could I make $500 a month so I could pay this room? That was like my goal, to make enough just to pay for the room and then to go finally find another job someplace else. But I'm actually glad I didn't go that route because it forced me to learn how to grow a successful business. It was really hard. But now, I remember, year one, maybe I made like, I don't even know, $6,000, and year two, maybe like 12, and year three, maybe like 40 or 50. This is gross. Yeah. So you figure my take home was maybe 25% of that if I was lucky. And even the year, I remember, I want to say it was year 5 that I finally matched what I made as a preschool teacher. So I think my business made like 150,000 gross and I got to take home 50, which is what I kind of closed at. I started teaching preschool, making 39,000. And by the end, I was making around 50, And I was like, dang, all of this, I could have just stuck to the classroom. But what happened is that it is layering of a cake. Right? And so I did not know this, but it took me 5 years to learn how to make 6 figures. And 2 years later, I made my first 7 figures in business. And so I thought, it took me 2 years to learn how to make 7. No. Yeah, it was cumulative. Yeah. All that knowledge. And then I was like, now I'm a quicker study because I have this foundation. And then a year and a half after that, I made my first 8 figures in business, $10 million. From preschool teacher to $10 million a year. That's crazy. Yeah. And so, but so for me, I am grateful for the lack of, because quite honestly, I reached out, but for the lack of support because one, I own every single component of my business. Yeah. When the money comes in, other than like paying bills and stuff, it's mine. Yeah. We don't have any debt. Nice. People now want to invest in us. I'm like, but why would I want your money? I'm already rich. Right. Thank you. Yeah. We don't have any debt. Like if I want to start, I call myself the Bank of Budgetnista. So my core business is the Budgetnista. And when I wanted to launch other businesses, I borrow from the Budgetnista. She's the venture capitalist. Yeah. And so I launched my online school, that became an 8-figure business. And then I helped to launch my podcast. And then I launched this marketing company, but the Budgetnista funded it. Nice. So I never ever had to be beholden to anyone. And it has allowed me to, I've been kind of like a hippie in business because I want to do what I want to do and I don't want to have to answer to anybody. Yeah. Yeah. I don't have to compromise. If I say this is who we're serving and someone says, I'm like, well, I actually didn't ask you. Yeah. Because I always tell my team, we're the queens of the castle. My team is largely Black women and we get to decide collectively what's in our best interest. Yeah. Yeah. When different organizations come to partner with us, I have banks trying to partner with me and I'm like, is this you and your mans and them, this article about how you treated us? what you over here for?
Yeah.
And they're like,
you have to leverage to.
What?
Yeah.
When I tell you, they're like, oh, I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Oh, you thought that because you have money that I was going to just say whatever.
Yeah.
I am self-funded. Most of my money comes from serving the very community that I promised to protect. So whether you give me money or not, we will be okay.
Yeah.
And so if you want to work with me, then do better. You know, I remember when the whole George Floyd thing, like in murder happened.
Yeah.
Let me not diminish the fact that that man's life was taken. You know, everybody wanted to work with Black brands. And no, I held them to task.
Yeah.
I started to tell them, like, I'm not your Black Band-Aid.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get to come here and say, look, we have a Black. No.
Yeah.
No. Show me who's on your team. Who do you serve? Where's your money going? No. You know, and people were really shocked, like, so you're not going to take this 7-figure contract? No. Because I can make that
you can make
from
that,
my community.
Yeah.
And I don't, you know, because they're going to hold me to task.
Yeah.
Why am I partnering with you? You know, and so like, that's the component I love about not taking funding. I mean, certainly there are some businesses that absolutely need funding.
Right.
I'm not a product-based business. If you want to scale more quickly, it took me a long time to scale. But one of the things I love is that I have ownership of the mission, ownership of the movement. I am never out of integrity. I'm always in alignment. I do not, for example, I do not sell credit cards. I probably could make $20 million a year. There is not a bank that does not tap on my shoulder and say, Tiffany, can you help us share like this credit card that we've, you know, launched? And I don't believe that no one should have credit cards. I use credit cards, but most people who come to me are financial diabetics, and credit cards are sugar.
Oof.
So some people can have sugar.
Wait, say that again.
Yes, most people who come to me are financial diabetics.
Yeah.
And credit cards are sugar. So I'm not pushing sugar to the people who are, you know, no. And so look, I've had brands say, Tiffany, we'll pay you $1,000 per person that signs up for a credit card. If you will pay me $1,000, how much are you making off that financial diabetic?
Right.
I can do the math now.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm just like, I kind of want to sleep well at night.
Right.
You know, I have 4 sisters. They are all in my community. And I'm just like, it sounds like great money, but there has to be a better way to make good money while doing good work and helping good people.
Absolutely.
And so like, I do not compromise, you know, and so much to the frustration of like the brands that want to work with me. But now I'm known for that. They come to me like, Tiffany, we know that you're, I'm like, okay, talk to me. They always send a Black woman. You know, they're always like, Tasha, can you ask Tiffany if she... And I'm like, girl, no. I said, because it's you, I'll have the meeting, but because I don't want you to get in trouble. But I'm like, tell them I need this, and this.
And these are your non-negotiables,
Yeah. And so honestly, I love that for me because there's nothing that someone can't do to me externally as long as I serve the people that I serve well.
Absolutely.